Voice. Now we're good. Okay, here we go. Good morning.
Coming to you live is the Auto Hub Show, changing automotive one show at a time with Ian and Jeff. And here we go.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Hi, I'm Gail Rubenstein, the founder and CEO of a company called Retail Resilient, social selling for the car industry. And we help auto dealers, auto agencies, and vendors in the auto industry sell more cars, service more cars, and make more money using our social selling strategy. That includes TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, and anything else you can think of. So if you're looking to invest thousands and make millions, we're definitely the social selling company for you. Like I said, who said you can't teach an old dog new tricks?
If you run a service drive, you know these days first impressions matter. But when your advisors are tied up with inbound phone calls, they tend to neglect their other, more important duties. And did you know 75% of all service calls are frequently asked questions and routine requests? Still, the average dealer misses up to 30% of inbound calls, adding up to a ton of missed service opportunity and increased customer churn. 68% of callers actually go elsewhere if they can't get through, which means you could be losing $60,000 to $70,000 every month in service revenue simply from missing calls. So who will pick up? Introducing Brooke.
Hi there.
Your best service scheduling assistant. Brooke is the first intelligent digital voice assistant to answer, handle, and appoint all of your inbound service calls. And talking to Brooke is like talking to a friend with human-level understanding in a friendly conversational voice. Her conversational intelligence is built on millions of actual service industry conversations. You really do check all the boxes. Book with Brooke today. Visit Brooke.ai or call 866-942-1236. Finally, the perfect match.
See that light above the bathroom door over there? That's a big time saver for our technicians and other recon staff. The light goes on when the bathroom is occupied. Now techs keep working until the light goes out. Then they know for sure the room is empty. Too often, the search for the right product brings valuable time. This inexpensive detailer's cart organizes supplies. Now techs lay their hands on what they need without delay. We got these time savers from Rapid Recon, the reconditioning software company that's always defining better reconditioning solutions for dealerships like yours. When the goal is to get cars through recon in 72 hours or less, every step, every minute, every better decision made helps towards that goal. For more recon efficiency ideas like these, talk to the recon experts at rapidrecon.com.
And thanks to the sponsors. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor for 2023, we will be releasing our updated media kit and pricing shortly. So a few books, once this scales properly. Let me go to the book section. If you aren't familiar with the latest book in digital retail, The Future of Automotive Retail by Steve Greenfeld, you should definitely check it out. I've ordered my copy. I'm hoping to have it soon. The Future of the Automotive Industry by Irma Martinez, and Driven, The Race to Create the Autonomous Car, which I know is controversial but interesting. So, Jeff, go ahead with our disclaimer revised for our new website.
Well, thank you. And good morning, afternoon, evening, middle of the night, depending when you're watching this and where. And thank you for joining us. Our disclaimer is new and revised, but basically still says the same thing. The views expressed here today and every day are those of our guests and not necessarily that of the Auto Hub Show or Jeff Polo or Ian Nethercott. But what the heck, sometimes we might even agree.
Just so you're aware, we are going to be live and in person at the Driving Sales Executive Summit in Las Vegas, Nevada. That's going on next month. If you are planning to go to the show, make sure that you save with our discount code AutoHubShow, all caps, one word. when you get your tickets on the site. Jared Hamilton, I've known him for years. Highly recommend the show. I've been there myself, and Jeff and I will be there in person. So if you want to meet us live, we will be at the show in person, broadcasting from the show. So let's get into it. What's the state of digital retail today? Go ahead, Jeff.
Well, one thing I would like to say about the driving sales show, and actually we're going to be used car week in November, is we might have invented the thought of the remote ambush interview at shows. So check it out. And of course, so today is the state of digital retail in 2022, and we have some really cool guests joining us today. We'll start with our new guesters. First of all, we have George Sortsis, or George, I should have asked you how to pronounce your name, from Google, which is the mothership of the universe, joining us from Toronto, Ontario. He's an account executive. George, please introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about yourself, and at the same time, answer this question if you don't mind. So, live event shows and conferences, which you just talked about actually, are ramping up, and there's nearly one every week. Every vendor floor is filled with booths of digital solutions and great names, like, of course, Brooke, one of our sponsors. And I do have to say, by the way, Brooke is a real person, which reminds me of a Big Bang Theory episode about Siri, but I won't get into it. But so digital retail is looking really strong. So after you introduce yourself, I had to put a long question here. Is it strong, or is it getting watered down by too many players? George.
Thanks for the intro, Jeff, and thanks for having me on the show, and good to meet everyone on the panel. My name is George Zortzis. I am part of the automotive team here at Google Canada in Toronto. Our primary objective is really to work with leading OEMs and their dealer networks in helping them meet their business objectives, right? So my job primarily is either through our products, our insights, and our expertise, is how to really help unlock those burning questions or those burning problems for our clients, our OEMs, and dealer networks, and really unlock the best that Google has to offer and help them solve those issues. So your first question, as it pertains to live events, I think it's great. It's great to have bright minds, the industry, and everyone kind of back together again in person at these live events, right? And if I'm out there and I'm kind of thinking through what is there to offer? Are things kind of watered down? I think what I would be able to kind of hone in on and really address is maybe what a lot of folks are thinking already. Like, what has really changed with consumers? What has really changed with consumer behavior over the last couple of years? And it can definitely feel watered down because as we've seen a massive acceleration into digital, especially in the last couple of years, I think it's normal to feel a little bit overwhelmed whether with respect to digital solutions or kind of what's next. I think what we've seen on our side are a couple of things. I think that consumers are more tuned into digital than ever before, and we talk about digital retail and that omni kind of channel experience. That experience has heightened, right? We've just seen a massive adoption of digital tools or practices help facilitate consumers no matter where they are in the journey. I think, as a retailer, it's easy to kind of feel overwhelmed, but I think it's really important that those tools are going to continue to accelerate as long as innovation accelerates. And the key opportunity there is to really leverage tools to see where you can connect with those consumers online. I think it's easier, maybe easier said than done, but there's more opportunity to really connect and make those meaningful connections, no matter where a consumer is in the journey. So that's definitely what I would look forward to most in kind of really addressing the next those live events.
Terrific.
Thanks for that.
Thank you so much. Our next guest is Erica Sietsma, who is the Chief Strategy Officer. I love that title. From Digital Airstrike, friends of ours. Are you in Phoenix as well, Erica?
I sure am. I'm in Scottsdale.
You're in the refrigerator capital of the world, I hear. Please introduce yourself and just answer the question, if you don't mind, of are there just getting to be too many players in the digital world?
So thanks for having me on, first time. And, I've been in the industry over 20 years now, working for software companies that serve dealers, and then for a large dealer group on the East Coast for 5 years, running all of our vendor partnerships, right? So you don't get more interaction than that. And I have to say, no, there's actually, in my opinion, just not enough doing the right things. And, if you go back to the industry 10 years ago, there were just as many players. They were just in different fields. Look at how many different CRM companies there are. Look at how many different website companies there are, right? And so I think we'll see that with some of the more advanced digital retailing. You have Stella AI, we're seeing Brook.ai. We'll see more of those, right? And every dealership, when you have 16,000 rooftops, they're not all going to be the same, right? Nobody's going to get 15,000 of them, right? You really do need that 20, that 30 for what's right. I think what needs to change, though, is the staffing mix of the dealership to be able to have someone on team that can go and really analyze what's right for the dealership, that can go in with that game plan of, this is what I'm looking for, this is our style. If there's 10 AI solutions out there, this is what we need. And or if they could try a few and really do a bake-off of what makes sense for their dealership, because it's not going to be one size fits all. And I think we'll only continue to see more. Well, I do think we'll see less website companies, right? I think we'll start to see less CRM players. They'll start to so you'll see filtering out in certain areas while others grow. So, competition breeds innovation, and I think it's a great thing.
Terrific. Well, that's very good, and that's a very good point. You go to any of these shows, and every year the major players booths get bigger and bigger and bigger, and they're starting to have little segments in there. They're so big now. So thank you for that viewpoint. Next, from another capital of the refrigerator world in Arizona, it's April Horn from, oh my gosh, I didn't write down your company, but please introduce yourself and do answer the question from a dealer standpoint. Are there getting to be too many players?
April Simmons at Horn Auto Group, and yes, I am also in the refrigeration. We got rain last night though, lots of rain, and so it's actually cool this morning. I walked out and went, woo, it's not so bad today. It's only like 82 or something, so it's awesome. To answer your question, I don't know that there can ever be enough people trying to create solutions. I think that that's something that we should all be striving for. The thing that I see is like Erica said, first of all, I think I'm going to take her title and update my business cards today, because I actually really like that one, so I might just steal that. But the problem I see more is vendors not working together. So there's a lot of segmented solutions. So here I create this solution, and then I create this solution, and I create this solution, but there's no way to make those solutions work together, which ultimately leaves a big space of salespeople being frustrated, but more importantly, customer frustration. So you want us to solve all the issues and be more customer friendly. We can try and try and try, but ultimately, if those solutions don't work together, then it's really for naught.
Perfect. I do have to apologize to you, because the very first time we had you on the show, I had to fight saying April Simmons. I kept wanting to say April Horn, and I said it today, and I'm so
It's okay.
Last but not least, we always leave her till the end because she's very shy and doesn't have too much to say. We have joining us a good friend of the show, Brooke Furness from Chicago, or roughly Chicago, and from BZ Consultants. I did it the American way, BZ Consultants. Brooke, reintroduce yourself and just give us your opinion on the number of players. And the one thing I want to ask you about, are the names getting cooler or not?
Oh man, there's a lot to unpack there. I don't know where to start with that, but yes, I am Brooke with BZ Consultants. I don't know what else you want me to say at this point, but yes, that's who I am. When it comes to having too many players in the field, I am a very, very firm believer that there's enough room for all of us. And anyone that tells you otherwise, I would kind of fight them on that a little bit, to say the least, because I think when someone tells you that, there's a reason why they're saying that, and they're trying to stifle innovation. I go back to what April said, and what a lot of other people already said on this panel, is that if you're trying to do that, there's reason for that. But my problem, same as April has said, is that you have all this great technology out there, but nothing talks to each other, which drives me insane. That's the front of the house, at the back of the house, fixed ops doesn't talk to the cells, and so you have all this technology, but nothing talks to itself. So yes, the technology is great and all of it's wonderful about it, whether it's the technology doesn't talk to each other, or the people that don't communicate. That's great, but all of it needs to talk to each other at the end of the day. So everything that's been said is spot on. So yeah, I think the innovation will keep coming, but you've seen, Erica, I think it was you said it, that you have all this innovation that's great, but you also see it, period. I don't want a hard stop there. You also see innovation that says, okay, wait a second, maybe we're going to tweak it a little bit. We're going to go into a different field, because you walk down Broadway of all these conferences and you're like, oh, that booth's big and shiny, but now it's not so big and shiny anymore. So they kind of find their way throughout stuff. So just at the end of the day, as a dealership or whomever you decide to partner, you really got to look down and say, okay, is this something we need? Is this something that's going to work? So do your investigation first to say, is this tool something we need? And is it going to work? And is it going to talk to each other?
Perfect. Well, very good point. Thank you, everybody, for the viewpoint. Ian.
Yeah, great point there. I mean, it's funny. I mean, we were talking a little bit about NADA this year, and sort of the scale and the complexity of some booths and some of the historic booths were kind of interesting in comparison. But from a dealer perspective, yeah, I just want to know that it works. I was talking to a trainer on the weekend about how training is changing over the last couple of years. And he was talking about F&I training versus sales training, which was kind of an interesting conversation from a trainer point of view. But more importantly, from a dealer point of view, yeah, I've got a CRM, I got a DMS, I got some form of email responder tool, I got some form of communication tool, I got these other tools. Do I need all these tools? And more importantly, can I have less? Because one of the biggest challenges from a dealer perspective from every department is, how many different things do I got to log into to do my job? And that was something that was really interesting since we're doing the show today. But anyway, our great friends at Automotive State of the Union are actually having ASTO UConn this week in Philadelphia. Unfortunately, we didn't have enough notice. We would have loved to be there, but hopefully next year. I did my undergrad in Philly, so I'd love to go back just to see what's changed. It's looking to be amazing. Is there any conference in the industry about digital retail that you would tell them they didn't already know? Like, I mean, obviously driving sales and others. I mean, what conference would you go to in digital retail if you had to choose just one? So let's start with April, since she's a dealer.
Oh, geez, that's tough. I think a lot of it boils down to what your intent is. And if you're going to a conference without a goal, then you might as well not go. So to me, it's a waste of time. So you have to know what your goal is going in. I have different goals for different conferences. So for instance, Digital Dealer has always been one of my favorites as a dealer because of their ability of education. So a lot of the conferences are, NADA, I will tell you, I went this last year. It was my first time going. I don't think I'll go again. As a dealer, I didn't have a lot of value from NADA. But that's because if my goal was to go to try to find a solution because I didn't do that all day, every day, then maybe that would be different. If I was only setting aside one time a year to go talk to vendors, then NADA would be great. Like if that's your only time, you set it aside, you go, okay, cool. But I do that all day, every day. So for me, NADA wasn't valuable. Digital Dealer has a lot of classes, a lot of opportunity to learn what's new from other vendors and peers in the organization. So I like that. I'm going to a conference actually tomorrow morning, getting up really, really early and going to Business Bourbon and Cigars. Now that conference is a little different conference because that one's more about masterclass and getting to sit down with like-minded people and say, okay, how do we accelerate this next year? How do we figure out ways to solve problems and work together with other people? So I think the most important thing is figure out what your goal is in the conference before you decide what conference you're going to.
Great thought. And then maybe we could talk to Erica, just because I know we were at NADA and Digital Airstrike had a big booth, but I guess maybe you have a different opinion at NADA versus the other conferences you guys attend.
So obviously on the vendor side for us, the amount of investment needs to have ROI, right? So if we're going to, drop a boatload of cash on something, then and sending a team of 30 people or even 5 people, doesn't matter what it is, but we need to have some kind of ROI. We are very much that when we attend a conference, You know, we do look to meet with our existing dealers, have deep strategy discussions in person. We are mostly an in-office based company. We don't have a huge field team. And so we don't have the ability, like some of the companies, to go into our dealerships all the time. So for us, we really maximize those conferences. NADA, I would say, for at least for me, or for the types of things I do, where I actually look a little bit to what has already been said about, I look to partner with other vendors in the space. So for me, NADA is going to be the only conference where the product people from the other companies go, okay? Because usually they're not going to digital dealer, they're not going to driving sales. Those are much smaller teams. So from a vendor standpoint, for us, NADA is not only a huge show for us to meet with our existing, to meet with prospective, like we set up appointments. The whole month of January is our team setting appointments to meet with us at NADA for our prospective clients. And then, you know, we have our huge customer appreciation events. And then again, all the other vendor time, for us, that's huge, or at least for our product and our strategy teams. You know, we joke, a friend of mine's over at Auto Success, Susan Givens, I'm always like, we need to start like a conference to bring together all of the support, you know, we call it the support industry, right? To meet, to talk, to do exactly what you were saying, right? About everybody work together. You know, we have, as a company, always tried to be Switzerland. The problem is with smaller companies and smaller dev teams, you have your own list of priorities. So being able to plug in other people's pipes, especially if those pipes are wonky pipes, you know, because STAR tries the automotive standards, but it hasn't ever really dictated this is how companies should and will integrate. So it makes it tough, but you know, who knows, maybe there'll be another vendor only conference for strategy, but yeah.
I do have to poke my nose in, or not, but just stick my nose here in that. I had the opportunity to spend probably about half an hour to 45 minutes in your booth at NADA, and it was crazy. Other than the overwhelming amount of orange and orange pants,
I usually wear orange, but yeah.
Oh yeah, your team had the most engaged amount of non-staff I've seen of any of the booths, and I walked around a lot, and there were constantly people in there. I don't want to say customers because I don't know who they were, but non-corporate people in there, and everybody was busy. You know, and I interviewed Alexi there, your CEO, and while I was waiting, I had to find a place to put myself that was not overwhelmed with people. So congratulations to you guys. You really, really did that well.
And also, just so you know, at the PCG event and at NADA, the awards event, that was one of the big touch points from Mr. Pash, or him and his brother, was basically, you need to learn how to work together. Otherwise, there's going to be fewer of you in this room. And I agree with that 100%. And maybe that's an idea for an event. We're going to probably be talking about doing an event next year. We haven't really got into it yet, but you know, there's definitely an opportunity to have a bunch of vendors, especially in the technology side of the business, get together where dealers can actually, you know, have those conversations with them, but more importantly, they can have their conversations with each other. Because when you look at just the relationship between, say, Google or CDK or Reynolds, to pick a few names, and the vendors, it's not just on the vendor side, it's also on the bigger corporation side. But George, maybe you can speak a little bit to how you work with vendors and what conference you guys go to, because I'm assuming in Canada and the US, you go to different conferences.
Yeah, we go. I didn't get a chance to go to NADA, and I didn't get the invite for Philadelphia either. So maybe next time. But I think what the panelists hit it spot on is kind of going into these conferences. So there's no shortages. What are kind of the objectives? What are you looking for? And I think for us, as we attend these conferences, is really to hear what are dealer networks and what they're hearing from their customers. I think that's number one there. And then how do we work with our partners in solving some of those problems? That's high on the radar, on all of our radar here on the team. It's just really hearing or getting kind of communication flowing between our dealer groups and us on how we can better support them. So that's top of mind for us.
Cool. And Erica, I did cut you off. Sorry about that. So maybe you had one more thought there.
Yeah, I was just going to talk about the booth energy real quick. If you're going to be at a show for 4 days, you better have fun.
In Vegas, really?
Standing there, and you're so bored. But we bring a DJ. We have a DJ based out of here, a DJ musician. So he does all of our holiday parties. We take him to conferences. He's amazing. He's got like a day job, but he's just an awesome DJ. And so that definitely helps. And again, it's a little bit to that point of like, it's part clients, it's part prospective clients, but it's part partners, right? People, all of us that are executive level have been with the been in the industry for 20 plus years. So, you know, it's people you've known for all those years. It's coming over, it's coming up with those great ideas of ways to partner. And, you know, I just wish we could, you know, there's so many great conversations that happen at really any conference, right? And then not enough hours in the day to maybe execute on all of those ideas. So, because you come back with 8,000 pages of notes, and you know, I'd love to see all of it materialize. I feel like some conversations I've been having for the last 20 years.
Well, we are looking for a new home for next year. I mean, obviously, we're going to hit up Polly because we were at their booth this year. But if you wanted to volunteer space for the Auto Hub show for 2023, we're interested in a conversation. Anyway, Brooke, go ahead.
Yeah, so as always, everyone's made great points here, and I love what April said, and I'm going to catapult a little bit off because as the SodaCon is going on right now, and have a little bit of FOMO because I'm supposed to be there, but I'm with you all, so that's awesome as well. Is I can't remember if it was Paul or Kyle said that you shouldn't be going to a conference to be an attendee. You should be going there to be a contributor. So if you're going to any conference, I don't care what conference it is, there's so many awesome conferences out there. Yes, do we all have our favorite? Yes, we do. But if you're, regardless what conferences is, if your whole goal is to be, I'm just going to sit back and absorb it and not participate at all, why are you even going? Why are you spending either your owner's money or your own money or whomever's money? Maybe it's being sponsored by someone. Don't go, because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. You're just a fly on the wall. So for me personally, I've been on the dealer side. I've been on obviously owning a company now side. And for me, when I get the most out of it is when I'm going to put the most into it. So yes, there's the NADAs, there's the SodaCon. Obviously, I can't speak to that. So yes, after this comes back, maybe that's the end all be all. For me, I personally get the most out of something like a DMSC, or used to be the ASK conference. Now it's the MRC conference. I like those just because I get the most out of it. It's the most interaction one-on-one, but they're all great. Like once again, it goes into what you put into it. If you're expecting, it always never ceases to amaze me when someone sits back in the back of the room, and whether you're the one teaching or you're the one leading or you're the GM or the manager, and someone just sitting back there like, yeah, just teach me. What? No, never go into a conference, whatever, or anything and being expected to be, yeah, you're so smart and you just teach me. No, go in with an open mind, thinking, how can I learn? How can I contribute? How can I move this forward? How may I help you? And you're going to get a lot more, whatever conference it is. But go back to what April said and whatever else is said on here. How can I contribute to it? How can I get the most out of this? And that's the conference that's going to be the most out of it. I mean, heck, Erica's having a DJ go to these things, and she knows that this is what's going to make the most. If you can have a big shiny booth, but if there's nothing there and there's no energy there, you just wasted a lot of money on it. So that would be how I would go about. That's personally how I go about things.
Yeah, I mean, when I was at NADA this year, I was right across the aisle from the Techion booth, and it was their first appearance. And the thing that really blew me away about the booth, other than it was just a big scale booth, was the way they planned it out. So they had a stage where they had a lot of panel discussions with big screens. They had a very well thought through process. They had everyone was wearing matchy outfits, which kind of reminded me of the Gap, which was kind of humorous. But you know, when you compare them to what Reynolds was doing, who's a direct competitor right behind them, Reynolds looked like they brought the 80s back in scale. Like it was just not at all planned out. And part of it from a vendor point of view is, what are you doing to stand apart too? I mean, it's got to be fun, but it's also got to be executed. Like it was embarrassing, I think, for Reynolds to bring a booth that really looked like they dug it up from 1985. Like comparatively, it was almost humorous. It was almost like a meme moment. But anyway, go ahead, Jeff.
It's very interesting that we kind of morphed into that, and we'll get back on the topic of digital. But I think there's two things that happen with conferences. One, to have a successful conference, you must have socks. And that's the one thing I'm noticing. There's socks everywhere. And I'm asking myself, why did I not grab more socks instead of buying socks? Secondly, you mentioned about why should you go? I believe, I can't remember, I think Brooke, you mentioned, don't just go to go. And I was approached by a person high up on one of the major auction platforms that asked if we were going to the Western Canadian Dealer Summit. And of course, we're based in Vancouver, so Western Canada, very large geographical area, bigger than the Western US, with about a quarter of the people. But the Western Canada Dealer Summit is in Las Vegas. Now, Las Vegas is a long way from Canada, but we know why the summit's going there. Please forgive me for those of you who are there. I don't want to insult anybody, but the conference isn't there to have a conference other than the other things. Moving right along, now that I'm in trouble and we'll lose all these Western Canadian dealers from our audience, focusing back on digital, if you personally had the ability or opportunity to, or to assist your firm in the startup of a new digital platform, what area of digital would you do? What area do you think fills a void and needs filling? And as I think Erica mentioned, or somebody did about websites, like golly gee willikers, there's tons of websites, tons of vehicle 360 platform vendors, and tons of used car acquisition platforms. So George, you're the person that's right in front of me right now. So I'm going to ask you, because you guys are the biggest, just about the biggest there is out there. We'll argue whether it's Amazon or Tesla after you, but if you had the opportunity to assist your firm, where would you, what digital opportunity would you think there is?
Yeah, no, thanks for that, Jeff. I think, think about that question. I would kind of take a step back and just kind of hear from like what are consumers saying, what are the customers saying right now, and for us over at Google, we have this small study called Think Auto. We reach out to about 3,500 consumers every year, and we ask them a variety of questions about the purchase, the path to purchase, right? And the top four kind of areas or things I would change or refurb or improvement have consistently been help me out with inventory, like help me find what I want and what I'm looking for fast. Help me out with negotiation, whether it be, initial discovery or, you locate your vehicle and just interacting with that dealer. Delivery, and then our favorite, the paperwork process, or what's involved in like just finally getting a hold of the vehicle. So those are kind of the four kind of pain points that are coming directly from consumers who have purchased a vehicle in the last year. So it's difficult for me to kind of build a platform for each one and solve each one of those. But what I would definitely work on is kind of addressing those points head on. Vehicle availability, inventory. We can talk about our products and how we kind of bring those to life, whether it be through basic search or whether it be through online video platform or through display. Like we're working to help solve that issue head on. When we look at delivery and paperwork, I talk a little bit about as a dealer, like how do I meet the consumer where he is in the path to purchase. I think with the advent of digital and the information that we have available to us today when we're marketing, we now have the opportunity to really save consumers time. That's what they're looking for. Like really kind of determine where consumer is in the path to purchase and addressing that need head on. Save the consumer time and just ultimately have a more satisfying buying experience. So that's where I would start, Jeff. I would start on really addressing those pain points, building a tool or tools to help address those consumer pain points, and hopefully that will either fill a void or just improve on processes that exist today.
Terrific. Well, that's a great point. And, there's so much out there, and I'm surprised they didn't tell you that getting a trade-in value or something seamlessly was a good one. I had a discussion with somebody trying to get a value on their car from all these sites that say, just text us your car, we'll give you a value. And everybody immediately went back to 1989 and said, come on in.
Yeah, I'll have to talk about that experience. So I'm thinking about selling my car. So I went online and I submitted leads. I know most of the dealers. So I submitted a lead, and one of them said, oh, we'll give you your price online. We'll give you what it's worth, this, that, the other thing. And then, we'll let you know. And then basically they sent me a bunch of emails and no one gave me a price. And then I got a call and text from the salesman. He goes, well, you need to bring it in. I said, well, the website tells me you'll give me a price. Well, we need to evaluate. I'm like, I get it, but like you're saying one thing online in big letters, and then when you actually talk to me, it's like I went back 20 years. Anyway, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, now we'll switch to the dealer view on this. If Horn Cars, Horn Auto, not Simmons Auto, which would be a better idea. If you yourself or your company were going to start a digital platform, what do you think it would be, and where is it filling a void that you can't get filled for you guys right now?
The biggest problem we have is communication. So here's the issue. Every single vendor says, we need to communicate better with our customers. We need to meet them where they are. I'll take George's words right out. Meet where they are. Okay, here's the problem. Every vendor has their own platform. I have probably, without exaggerating, at least 300 different logins for all sorts of different platforms that don't talk together. So let's go to a salesperson and a customer. They need to talk to each other. However, the way that a digital retailing tool or a trade-in tool or a chat tool or any of the other tools that we have on the website comes in and actually is told via the CRM to the salesperson who's now supposed to talk back to that customer is like foreign language. It comes in 30 different types of leads in this, way that unless you've looked at them your whole life, you can't even decipher what it's trying to say. I mean, we're supposed to be having a conversation with this customer. It's supposed to be conversational. It's impossible to be conversational if it's not, I speak, you listen, we talk back and forth. That's how conversational works. That's not how it works right now. And there isn't been anybody who's come up with a solution. I've been screaming about it for years to all the vendors. I put them on the phone together, and guess what most vendors do? They put their big fat ego hat on and say, well, April, we can solve all your problems if you just use my solution for everything. So we have a substandard solution, but it'll work together. They integrate together because it's the same company. Instead of saying, well, no, let's figure out a way to make this all work cohesively, because the OEM makes a lot of decisions. There's a lot of stuff where we're not capable of being with one. And quite frankly, I don't believe in all eggs in one basket. Be the best stay in your lane, be the best in your lane. And if I want to have somebody who's better in their lane, I need to work together. So if I could find a way to say, I'm going to take the baton tossing amongst all this and be able to control the conversation, then I would do that.
Perfect. Well, I have had, not to your extent, I've had the opportunity of operating in multiple rooftops and having to figure out which one, because the OEM said you must use this one, and you got that. The group says we're going to use this one, and I can definitely feel the pain there, because a good idea, and I want 10% of it, gets really, really good, is somebody should create software to integrate everything so you can log in once, not selling you anything but that software to coordinate everything.
100%. And I've been saying that for years. I've actually talked to some up-level people to be like, please come up with a solution. There's got to be a way. All this AI crap that exists, the Googles of the world, come on, smart people. Figure this out for me.
April, you know what's out there. It's just, man, it comes down to it is that, I don't know, you get outside the auto industry and HubSpot is free. Then you get to, a tier up and it's a little bit more, but it's already out there. It's just, once again, that ego hack, it's a little big. Well, there's X company, but if you use all of our products, it works seamlessly. Oh, but you can't use this other product over here. So the technology's there.
Well, take a look at Pipedrive. I mean, it was a sales platform designed by salespeople as a CRM, and it's just wonderful because it's simple. It's not complicated, and it's built around salespeople, which, by the way, aren't complicated. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's the best I've ever used.
And then salespeople will not log into 32 platforms.
Oh, absolutely not. They won't even log into 5.
Just to log into the CRM, we're already winning, right?
Yeah.
So
You're having trouble getting them into one platform. Erica, seeing as how you're in the digital platform side of things, what's your opinion on this?
Well, I wish I could just say ditto to what April said, because I've been thinking about this over the weekend, and that's exactly, the opportunity. CDK made a run at it with their Portella platform, but it was kind of like Marxism, good in theory, terrible in execution. Just because there's so many partners will partner with it. Like Reynolds is never going to put their data on Portellas, but in theory, in theory, and I've had some kind of strategy sessions with the Portellus team, in theory, that's what it was, in theory, aiming to solve, right? And if you creating this, not to use an overused term, but this information superhighway, right, where all the vendors you could put your stuff on via API and then either combine it or pull it together or create a net new thing on it. But it's just I don't think there's enough trust there that they won't use the data for other solutions. So to the point that was just being said, if it was really just this layer, this data layer to help all the companies integrate, right? Because it is really hard because there are so many players, everybody does it a little bit different. We have API integrations with CRMs and every single one is different. Everyone, oh wait, you wanted that piece of data? Oh, that's not available. Oh, you want to create an appointment? We don't have that in version 8. Wait, version 8 and I can't create an appointment? Like what's happening? So I do think, I don't know. I think that, the industry has tried before with the STAR format. And I think that it is incumbent on dealers, on OEMs, on the support industry, the partner industry to come together and say, this is how we're going to do it. Right. And I think we need to reboot STAR. We need to reboot integration so that companies like ours or others can more easily integrate with each other so we can create that more singular solution. Right. And then to the point that you were saying, April, is there a company willing to create, an interface where I was actually just talking with one of our heads of technology, right, where and you just block in, almost like framing in all the other vendors, right, with a single sign-on, in a way to do it, in a way to pull in all their reporting into one singular reporting platform. Some people do it for advertising, and you can pull in different types of ads into one. Google Data Studio is a great example, but then it's, dead in the water when you want anything outside of advertising, right? Like where you want to start looking at these things, or to your point, April, if the salesperson isn't updating the CRM. So then we need to rely on customer dispositioning and the technology that can capture that and update the information. So I do think it is that. I think it is that connective tissue, right? And I think we'll see it. I think we'll see the nature of CRMs change as well. I think the CRMs we have gotten a bit stale and because they've all been bought up. And so we're not seeing as much innovation in that space. And I think similar to websites, we're not going to see innovation in a CRM. It's going to be another solution that reimagines, rethinks the CRM. It's going to be another solution that rethinks or reimagines the website. Right? When you look at the usefulness of a website, most people get there through another source. And do they need the whole website experience? If I'm shopping for a truck, do I care about service or parts or some of these other things in that moment? Or do I need a more personalized experience based on my search, based on my activity, based on my behavior? Should I have a more personalized website experience? And we don't even call it a website, right? I think we'll see that in the next few years. And to Brooke, to your point, we'll see things. A lot of companies have tried to come in from other industries. So I don't think it'll be that. You look at Salesforce, Epic failures. Microsoft has tried it multiple times. But I think we'll see someone that maybe worked at one of those companies that comes in and starts a new fresh thing for automotive. And I think in the next 2 to 5 years, I think the landscape will shift dramatically.
Well, you made a very good point there about the fact that other people outside of the industry have tried to do it. And I've had experience with Salesforce to try and do CRMs. I've got part of a little used car lot, and it's next to impossible. They just, it's tough to get anybody outside of the industry to really understand the industry. And when you get a platform that's designed for salespeople that maybe deal with stationary supplies, versus a dealership, and stationary supplies are outside sales. You need that. In a dealership, they can get by on their personality and they don't get fired if they're doing 20 cars a month because they can greet people and they don't put them in the CRM. So what the heck? So Brooke, I get your additional opinion on this. So, I do hear that there's a new digital platform, BrookeDoesEverything.com. And what do you think as the boy?
Sign me up. I actually am going to say ditto because everything that's been said is exactly. I ran out of notes because I'm like, okay, what else can I say? It's like I got nothing. Everything has been said, and I do agree that I have had a lot of conversation with people that have tried to break in. And if you haven't been in the industry, not that I'm going to say don't do it. It's just trying to explain. Okay, you got to understand the auto industry is a little different. So whether it's the CRM, whether it's the website, whether it's understanding how co-op works, there's just all these different things that are the nuances of our industry are a little different. So it is a little different there. And like you said with Salesforce, it's different. So, but yeah, I am going to 100% say ditto to everything that's been said because the communication, we've got to come together to move this industry forward. And in order to do that, it's got to be that this technology talks to this technology and this person talks to this person. And without that, we're going to continue to be on this freaking hamster wheel that just goes around and around and around and get nowhere. And it's incredibly frustrating. It's not only hurting us at the dealership level, it's hurting our consumer, it's hurting the dealership, it's stifling everything. So I'll keep it simple.
Yeah, and it doesn't even matter. Go ahead.
Sorry, you just mentioned the elephant in the room about the car business broke. And I know a dealer, well, I know a couple of them, a few of them, and somebody contacts them about something. It's the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's amazing. And the first thing the dealer says, when they say, I've got a platform that'll make you $12 million extra next year, the first thing the dealer says is, can I claim co-op? For that $182 a month.
And if I can't, I'm going to have two tools that do the exact same thing. How about that? Great. Sign me up.
Exactly. And I can claim $100 a month for that. Ian.
It's interesting. I mean, I had the opportunity yesterday to visit my local Tesla store. I always look at stores. It was kind of funny because they're supposedly the digital in the car business or the future of the car business. And I've been at the Lucid store to look at their process recently too, as well. And Vinfast is the latest one from Vietnam. But what was funny was I was getting the same answers from the salesperson at Tesla that I got at other dealers last week, which was, oh, we don't have any. I can't give you a payment. You can build it online. There's all these reasons not to buy a Tesla, which was kind of interesting. But more importantly, I 100% agree. You could have the best thing online from a digital point of view, but it really comes down to that in-store experience when you come pick up the car or test drive it. So my question is, has digital taken over? I mean, I know the OEMs want to do it, and I know some of them are even forcing dealers to do it, heaven forbid. But do you really think it's going to take over that process in the car business? So April's shaking her head. No, go ahead.
And I can go on for an hour alone on this topic. So I will do my very best to keep my answer as brief as possible.
Fair enough.
With a resounding hell to the no. So here's the real reality. The reality is OEMs and a lot of other people are trying to force the narrative right now. And it's actually, I can attest to this 150%. I'm going to go backwards to go forward. So I actually worked for Toyota for 15 years, and I was the manager who was in charge of bringing Scion to the table. And Scion was one of the first companies that went out with this all-in digital A to Z, one price, yada, 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 et cetera, et cetera. And as that started to fail, they actually would pay us, they would bonus us to do the process at the time we're doing the deal, right? So, hey, do us a favor because we're trying to collect data on how this works. When they show up, because they wouldn't put their finance app online, then let's go ahead and do it online. Just log in and finish the process online with the customer. Well, guess what? 10, 12 years later, the OEMs are doing the same thing now across scale. They're virtually forcing the dealers to do the process the way they see that it's supposed to be, rather than taking the data and the facts of the situation, right, Brooke? Like, rather than looking at the facts, they're saying, hey, our feeling is, based on all these surveys that we've looked at, that customers want to buy a car online. But the facts don't support that. They don't even come close to supporting that. So what it really is about the conversation, the experience, the education. Consumers do want to do stuff online, but they're not ready to buy a car online for the most part. Now, I'm not saying there's not a percentage of customers that do, but I tend to build my process around what the majority want to do, and then the exceptions I take care of one-on-one. But we are pushing a narrative right now that just is not supported by fact.
And here's the problem with this digital buying online. I have a friend who has 3 Polestars. 3. One's coming in next week. One was supposed to be next year. It's going to be in 2 weeks. And another one's the end of the year. And they called them and they said, which one do you want? Why did I buy all 3? You can't. Then why did you let me order 3? Because.
That's hilarious. What about the Cybertruck?
Right, and consumers, we have to understand that there are things we buy online, right? I was like the last person to join Amazon, and not because I didn't know I would love it, but because I was like, you're gonna put Target in my hand, is kind of how I looked at it. And when I would go to Target previously, I would overspend because I'd be like, dude, look at this and look at this. Well, guess what? That's what Amazon does, right? Like, now we overspend, we buy stuff we don't need. But when it comes to a car, it's a whole different animal. We're not trying to sell an iPhone. We're not trying to sell a pair of shoes. A car is a different thing. So we can't apply the same principles. And that's what I hear everyone saying. Well, look at Apple and look at Amazon. Look at Apple and look at Amazon. Okay, that's great. That's fine and dandy. Not the same thing. Apples and oranges.
Well, look at Lucid. It's the only car company I've ever seen where the rear seats don't match the color of the seats in the front. How did they come up with that? I'm just curious. I'm not saying it's a bad idea, but like, what genius came up with that? Anyway,
that
George.
Was an accident. That was an accident. And they were like, well, we can either go into it like we did it on purpose, or
So nothing matches. Oh yeah, that's a design element. Really interesting.
That's because the first 2 or 3 of them showed up wrong in production. They went, oh, that looks like a good
You paid extra for it. It's exclusive. It's limited.
Yeah. So who wants to go next? Jeff, go ahead. Pick.
Pick?
Yeah.
Let's go with Erica because she's digital.
Well, I definitely agree with April, but I think, kind of going back to what I said in the very beginning, I think the staffing mix will change. I think we can lean into digital, if we can get it right as a support network, to do the things that a face-to-face person doesn't want to do, right? The last thing you want is a kick-ass team member to get stuck behind a desk. I got to update all my things. Like, our tools and systems need to get smarter, so the salesperson doesn't have to log in. They can use an app that's more similar to the social apps they're used to quickly disposition, right? Or the consumer can disposition themselves in a way. We need smarter tools and technology so that we can lean into that, because I completely agree. There's going to be a percentage that wants to do everything online. And I do think a lot of the data and studies, we did a study, not to one-up you Google though, we had 4,800 people respond to our study, and ours was conservative. So we looked at both sides, but like it comes out that yes, I'd like to do my credit app online, or there's big things I want to get done online. But to your point, they still want to come in. They still want to have that test drive it, touch it, have that experience, have someone that seems smarter than them, tell them about the vehicle, right? Besides their own research. And I think when we have our team members have to get stuck doing so many other things, that doesn't help. I also do think that the A to Z model, because we need to change that staffing mix, we can't just do the retired firefighter as much anymore. Like, we need to change it. We need to make it more sexy. We need to attract a younger generation. And I think if you do A to Z, it gives the ability. It's a more complex job. It's more interesting. And so I think we'll see A to Z take another run, right? We're starting to see companies crop up to support the A to Z process, like A to Z Sync. And so I think we're going to see that, hopefully take hold as well. And so that you can have fewer humans in the dealership, use your technology more, and hopefully it'd be more seamless. So fewer technologies you need to use, maybe because they all talk to each other, and fewer humans. And I think that's going to be probably where it nets out. And I'll agree, we have a Tesla store. We're one of the early Tesla stores in our mall here. And outside of their vehicle knowledge, ain't got nothing else. Oh, you got a question? Let me put a ticket in. I saw their ticketing system. It literally looks like it was like dot matrix, like this old school just box, no fields, just like freeform text. So it's just interesting because similarly, I was kind of, checking their process because everybody like raves about it. And
Well,
I think those are probably the people that just bought online and never went into the store because the in-store is terrible.
Well, I've written
Honestly,
articles
Panic,
since the beginning on it.
Tesla salesperson. Sorry, Ian.
I've written articles since the beginning on Tesla. So if you're curious, look at my LinkedIn. I've written many. I went to one of the first Tesla stores in Seattle before they were in Canada. I booked an appointment to go down there to test drive a car. You know what their process was?
No.
They had no salesperson because the salesperson didn't show up that day. So the receptionist threw me the keys. Go drive it. That was their process. George, go ahead. Give us some data.
I'll answer your, just the same kind of sentiment from April. I definitely don't think digital has taken over, but I think a lot of what I'm hearing here is kind of what we're seeing as well. I'm not going to get into the amount of respondents in their survey, Erica, but we do have a lot of folks saying that what the experience that they're looking for is either omni-channel or a hybrid type of experience, and that's kind of what we're seeing on our side. So it's up to consumers, the industry, whomever, to really figure out what pieces of the journey can be handled digitally and what pieces of the journey are better handled in person. The data speaks, seat in a car, physically like experiencing the vehicle test drive, there's no better spot than a dealership. I think that's come out loud and clear. But some of the things such as discovery, for example, or the initial build-in price, or some of the initial steps in the journey, those have moved on digital. And it's not just because of the fancy tools that are out there, it's because that's what consumers want to do. So I guess to answer your question, I don't think digital has taken over, but it's that hybrid, that omni-channel approach that is the new way of doing things and finding the right mix. And again, connecting with that consumer, whether it be on the front end or the back end, that is going to be the new way of doing things. And I think that's the area that has taken over and will continue to accelerate.
Thanks for that. Brooke, what do you think?
Well, I am going to agree with a lot of everything that's been said here. Shocker, I know. When you go and look at we have to look to our past in order to be able to move forward, right? So you look at, I think it was in the 80s, I want to say, that Ford tried this model and it failed miserably. Does that mean that they can't learn from it? No, they definitely can learn from it. But what I see happening is they try and others try to do this is to say, okay, did we learn from it? We learned that the dealerships right now, that they are so ingrained in the community, that they are the lifeblood to the high schools, to the schools, to the baseball teams. Did they learn that, hey, without them, we're nothing? And I don't see right now that they have done that. When you look at the Teslas of the world, of why they are successful online is for a specific reason. All these other brands that are out there aren't Tesla, and it's not a bad thing. That's just the way that's just what it is. When you try to look at insert one other brand here, there are a gazillion different trims. Have you start to look at how the profit's going to look, how you look at trade-ins, how you look at credit, bad credit, all these different things of how it's going to play out versus just saying, well, we want to do this. Okay, stop for a second. Going back to digital retailing, which is such a freaking buzz term, which drives me crazy. We've been doing this for a very, very long term. It just took 2020 to be like, people freak the crap out. They're like, okay, you're going to be forced into this. Well, no, it's been around forever. So you look at all these different things and say, okay, is this going to actually go? Well, yes and no. I think, like everyone has said, it's going to be a hybrid model. But to say that they're going to take over and do this, they may try to force it down people's throats, but is it going to be successful? Without the dealerships, they're the lifeblood of the community. I mean, that's what makes everything go. And so I do agree with everything that's been said here is that it will be a hybrid, it will be a mixture. Any other synonym you want to throw in at this point? It also takes the dealerships at the storefront level, because they're the front line, to say, we know what's going on the street every single day, and that we're the ones doing all this, and that sometimes people in the ivory tower forget that. So, and when you look at Tesla, they have a different model and they have a different product. Like, it's a completely different animal, and there's that EV anxiety that has to be, hey, I got to go have all these questions, and if I'm just going to do this online, so I just agree with everything that's been said.
Yeah, these are very good points, and invariably, whenever we discuss digital, we go back to the giant T word, and that's Tesla. And so many people sit there and say how great they are and what groundbreakers they are, etc. and Ian and I had this discussion the other day. The thing Tesla did good in 2012, not in 2006, 7, when they came about and they made the Lotus electric car, etc. In 2012, they launched a really cool looking electric car that looked like a normal car but cooler. And that has continued. I know a ton of people that would, with a very high-end fancy people that would never drive anything less than a Mercedes. And there they are driving a Model 3 because it's cool. And they're selling them like hotcakes. And what I want you to mention earlier, if you want to watch a Tesla salesperson or representative or what you call them, panic, ask them how you can get one without a yoke. Because there's a lot of heat on that yoke and they don't know what to do. They don't even know where to go because there is no answer for that. Nevertheless, we have reached the end of our time. And I'll leave it to Ian to close, but thank you all so much. This is very enjoyable. We have a great time with everybody, and I'm glad our guests all clicked with each other. And we do appreciate you taking the time, Erica and George, for joining us new. It's a real pleasure and an honor that you're with us. April and Brooke, I can't tell you how we appreciate the support immensely. And I look forward to the days that we can actually meet you in person. And that's the beauty about all the conferences now. It's hugging is the new way of doing things. So Ian, I'll leave you to close.
Yeah, if anyone has any questions about digital retail, I used to work for a website company, so I can give you my thoughts of almost 3 years in the business on that.
Ian has no opinions.
I have no opinions, though, but I also have had the experience of being exposed to a lot of software, so I can give you the good, the bad, and the ugly. So if you have questions, feel free to reach out. And have yourself a great week. Thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. And if you are going to be at driving sales in Las Vegas next month or used car week in San Diego, if you can afford the places to stay, we will be in both places live, and meet us in person. Have yourself a great week. Thanks again. And we're out.
Thanks for joining us. It was a great show, and follow us anywhere you would like on your favorite podcast, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and of course on our YouTube, or subscribe to our own channel.
Have a great day.
Bye.